It's your half-assed reporter, James Kalm. And I left my bicycle home. But we're coming to you from the Metropolitan Pavilion. And tonight we're going to take a stroll through the Outsider Art Fair 2019. Come on along with us. So this is the 2019 version, iteration, edition. I've been coming here now, gosh, for at least a couple of decades. I remember initially visiting this fair at the Puck Building for several years, and then I think they were up on 34th Street for a couple of years, across the street from the Empire State Building. And then there were a couple of years where they were holding the fair at the what had been the Chelsea Museum. It was the Dia Center. And now for the last, I guess it's 3 or 4 years, Andrew Edlin.
You're doing your thing, man.
I'm doing my thing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll be back. And so they've been here for probably the last 3 or 4 years. Now I'm not sure exactly how many galleries they're representing this year that are here. Oh boy. But as I've said, this is always a highlight of my year. Alan Williams, who formerly ran Parker's Box in Williamsburg. Hi there. And oh gosh, there's Scott Ogden Shrine. Hi, Scott. It's always interesting. We make some discoveries of new artists. We get a chance to catch up and see some of the classics. And well, as we run around and look at some more of the work, we'll talk a little bit about the whole idea of what the current state of the outsider art world is. Interestingly, also, because I've been covering this fair for so long, I've kind of gotten a little bit of a reputation as a champion of, follower of, fan of, outsider. And every now and then I get asked to maybe contribute a little article or some kind of analysis of the current art brute, naive art, folk art, outsider art movements. So we're going to start out here at the Julie Saul Gallery, and we're going to look at some photographs by the great Morton Bartlett. Well, we just talked to the gallerist, and we're inquiring about the dolls, and evidently most of these, probably all of them, are in private collections now. But the dolls were basically just a motif for Morton's, I guess maybe deeper project, which was the photography of these dolls. He was a professional photographer, and I guess in a certain way you could say that he was kind of a harbinger of people like Cindy Sherman, except that he actually created these figures and I guess designed and sewed the clothes as well. So they were kind of personal effigies. Okay, so this is the Phyllis Stigliano art projects. And gosh, this is the piece that's, I think, is this the one that's been used as the logo for the close? Yours is better. Looks pretty good. It's by Minnie Evans, and here's the great Bill Traylor.
Yeah, he didn't mind.
Mary Whitfield. Some more Mary Whitfields. Take a run through the Calvin Morris Gallery in New York.
That was everyone's idea. This time, it's the face full on
Melvin Edward Nelson. Some great carved heads by Vincent Atcherton. It's a cedar. Aizel Nishimura. Kind of nice color things happening here. Okay. That's some nice text. Issey Nishimura. Taraxicil Marathi. Well, as I've been coming to the fairs and seeing how the development of the outsider art market and the number of people that have become fans, it's also been interesting to kind of see how the contemporary art scene has changed their attitude. This is Sullivan and Gleislane Stalens. Well, we're going to move on at some point, and we'll take a look at a special memorial booth that's in homage to Phyllis Kind. And I guess that would be the place that I kind of started out looking at outside art. I think she was showing Henry Darger in New York before anybody else. This is some interesting pieces by Leonard Daly. These look like they're oil on canvas. Well, I'm looking at this, and so it says Leonard Daly, Content quel Decloque Amada, 1996 mixed media on canvas, 33 by 36, and I'm getting some echoes of André Masson, one of the great surrealists. Miroslav Tichy. This is the Czech artist that I think he made pinhole cameras in a shoebox and would take his camera out to local places like this local swimming hole or the park, and he would photograph unsuspecting ladies in secret. Well, there's really so much art here that you can only kind of skim the surface. It's Mark Hogenkamp. Well, I think this might be the photographer that they've recently released a movie about. So this is the 1 Mile Gallery, Kingston, New York. Still doesn't have it back yet. Untitled Drawings, Mark's AA art therapist, pencil on paper. Oh, this is the Pardee collection, Iowa City. But yeah, the thing I'm looking at is this quilt. That's beautiful. That is as punchy as a Stanley Whitney painting. This is anonymous from India. The Desert Villages.
Mr. Kalm, right?
Yes, Mr. Kalm.
Know your voice.
Okay. Uncle Pete Drgac, D-R-G-A-C. It's a selection of works by Emmett Hitch. And, okay, so we've got a little portfolio. These are all, looks like they're on masonite. And in the South, they call that Dixonite. See, those are probably about 24 by 30 and 18 by 24. And introduce yourself.
I'm Sonia.
Sonia,
Yes.
tell us about what you're exhibiting this year.
All right, so this
Come
edition,
closely.
this edition of the Outside Art Fair, we have 4 artists.
Okay.
And they're from different corners of the world.
We got a red dot here.
This artist, his name is Samrek Chia, and he was born in 1995. He lives
Shangrang Chia.
Yeah, he lives in Melbourne, Australia, Cambodian descent. And all of these artists are self-taught. That is to say, we're really looking at their inner lives, their works.
Okay.
There's some filmic obsessions there. This is a Texas artist that I discovered many years ago. He's no longer living, but he worked entirely on the streets of Houston, Texas.
In Houston.
Yeah.
And these are color pencil and...
Yeah, these are all salvaged materials he found on the streets. He was homeless and worked and lived on the streets. He wanted to try to sharpen his mind in the 60s, so he only started drawing in the 60s, and he would look at these buildings, put them to memory, and then later on in the day he would recreate these memories.
So he was not painting these on site, he would try to memorize the architectural forms and then go from there?
That's right, and we had an
Gosh.
architectural historian go through and determine which of these skyscrapers they were in Houston. They're very built up. They were never really finished in his mind. He would always return to them, piled up high in the shopping cart, and as you can see, the impastos there and the impervious. He would often soak them in linseed oil, sense of dimension,
and he died in 1998?
He disappeared in the 1990s.
He disappeared. That's even more intriguing.
He was born in 1930, and we're not sure whether he's alive anymore. He was very anti-American.
And how about, these are ceramic, right?
Yeah, so these are ceramic ships by a New Zealand artist called Robert Rapson. Now, he started making sculptures in his 40s, also entirely self-taught, and he lives in Wellington, New Zealand, which is a harbor city. But as a boy, he would watch these ships come in and out of the harbor. He became very obsessed, became a lifelong fascination. He was born in 1956. And 1951, and he makes these sculptures.
1951, I understand that was a very good year for artists to be born in.
Exactly. And you can see the imprint of his
and this is all, is that...
fingertips. You can see the underside of the
Is that porcelain
here.
or just regular...
This is clay.
This is clay.
And
he's got a little text he's written on the...
He writes about the historical incarnations of each of the ships, their engineering, what they were, how many tons they were. It becomes a narrative-focused work on the bottom, but then kind of abstracted on the sides, very much in
beautiful
motion.
glazing.
Yeah, with the voluminous smokestacks and the water that kind of melts into the ship.
Okay, let's look at what we've got on the table here. Somebody's making ceramic cameras, binoculars.
Alan Ostival, he's also an
Alan Ostival.
Australian artist.
How do you hook up with people in Australia?
I mean, I used to live there. I'm a little bit of an expat, but...
A little bit of an expat. It's kind of like being a little bit pregnant, isn't it?
This artist is non-verbal, and he's blind and deaf, and he makes these from touch out of his imagination.
Well, then how do we get to the glazing on here? Because I was thinking some of this glazing is beautiful.
So Studio Assistant sets up these pots, and he has pinhole vision, so there's...
So he does have a little bit of
fuzzy sense
something, okay. Some little...
Someone touches and then decides on you're very volcanic, and he traces the form with his fingertips before translating them into clay and reinterpreting them. But every little knob, every little detail is...
So he'll have, say, like this camera, he'll have the camera and then he'll make the model just from his feelings that he's working with.
That's
right?
Exactly
Is that
right.
the way he does it? Okay.
Yeah, they're very specific historical models of cameras, like the viewfinder, which is very but they're very anthropomorphic. They turn into little totems.
Little brownie, yeah. Okay.
They turn into little vessels that have a lot of charge and eloquence, I would say.
I should say.
Quite tremendous.
Okay, well, thank you for the little tour. All right, good luck.
Thanks.
Beautiful. Oh, geez. There's Jerry Saltz and Andrew Edlin. He started out with Phyllis Kind.
Hey, Phyllis Kind gave me my first job. I was a complainy, whiny baby artist.
In Chicago, right? You were in Chicago.
And I went in there to complain to her, and she said, "Shut up. Come to New York, and I'll give you a job."
That's
So
tough
I
love.
shut up, and I went. Phyllis, I love you. You changed my life.
She changed my life, too.
How?
Well, that was where I used to, I mean, there were very few galleries that I could actually walk into and sort of feel like I was on the same kind of level. And
For those of us that didn't come up through the ranks, who didn't have the degrees, all the other stuff,
she was
now
great.
it's in the hands of Andrew Edlin and Chris Byrne.
That's right.
Andrew is the patron saint of the fair.
I know.
Chris Byrne, every single damn year, brings somebody that ends up amazing.
The new discoveries.
God
All right.
bless them both.
All right, thank you. There was the Pope, Jerry Pope Saltz. Okay. We'll follow Jerry.
This
Okay, let's look.
African-American quilt made out of World War I Army blankets from 1930. Back up and take a look at this thing.
Oh, so this is Maker Unknown, 1930.
Right. Look at the level of abstraction in this. This is extraordinarily advanced, even for the time. It's amazing.
No, absolutely.
It has a figurative element where you feel like it could be a figure standing on 1 foot or two, dancing, moving. The space around it is very claimed with something on each edge. It's quite remarkable for only, I was told, $12,000. I think MoMA should buy it. You hang it right in the section that's 1930, and it would fucking kill. It would not ruin the Museum of Modern Art.
I'm thinking
to
that,
include something like that.
Unfortunately, that would make the Motherwells and the Franz
Kill the
Kleins and
Motherwell. This would kill the Motherwell.
the Gottliebs and all those guys would not be able to hold up.
Motherwell's
Okay, thanks, Jerry.
Gottlieb's got to go, and maybe, and you put up this thing.
Okay. Okay, that was an unsolicited analyst there, Jerry Saltz. This is here at the Hill Gallery. Famous early Georgia harvest face drugs. Oh, Pennsylvania temperance jug. Makes you feel guilty as you're chugging your whiskey or your moonshine. Okay, this is the stuff that I always like. This is just called a folk art portrait, Lena Horne, artist unknown, 1950s. But I can't help but think of Francis Picabia when I see these. It's great. It's another beautiful, I don't know whether that would be considered a quilt or a tapestry. Calling it a bed covering. South Carolina. Henry Boxer Gallery, Surrey in the UK. Got a couple of beautiful stained glass panels by Pinky McClure. This is Lookout 2018. Now I guess that this is some kind of paint, glaze. There's been a certain amount of scraping, kind of cutting through the various levels of pigment. And then we've got the leading. It's like the cloisonne spaces between the little panes of glass. Anonymous, wie eine Märchen. Like a fairy tale. Angelica. Oh, I love also these kinds of pieces that look like they were taken out of someone's little notebook, or maybe a ledger. Got some George Widner. You can go back in the files and see we had a little chat with George at a show that he had at Rico Maresca, maybe about 8 months ago. And I even asked George about his paper. And he had a pretty good response. Well, now we're going to actually take a stroll through and look at the offerings here at the Andrew Edlin Gallery. This is Joe Coleman, Adam Parfrey, A Pharaoh Man in a Pharaoh Land, 2018-2019. Well, this is actually kind of an interesting development. I'm not a real close follower of Joe's work, but it seems that he's gone into a miniature, almost a micro version of his paintings. Gosh, this is it's like the history of the 20th century in tabloids here. More Joe. Now, in certain ways, I think that, and Joe would probably admit this, that he is someone that probably looked at a lot of underground comics, people like S. Clay Wilson and Robert Crumb and some of the other masters. But he's taken it to a different level, and yeah, gosh, I bet he's got to wear those special magnifying glasses to work on these. This is Memories of a Sideshow Geek, 2010. Well, they talk about Sideshow Geek, and I know that Joe was a young artist doing performances in the East Village back in the late 70s, early 80s, and well, part of one of his performances was that he would bite the head off live rats. And I don't know, is that what he's got there? I'll tell you, I saw a picture of this online, and they actually had 3 people with magnifying glasses out here because you need some kind of magnification to get down there and read those texts. Eugene von Breuschenheim. I believe these are photos of his wife. And yeah, Eugene did a lot of photography and paintings that were kind of unusual, and also chicken bone sculptures. It's a little Morton Bartlett. This is Tom Duncan. The Execution of Private Slovak. Okay, so we've got a little scene, and this is all built an old Foot Locker, milk crate. The Execution of Private Slovak. During the Second World War, Private Eddie Slovak was the only American soldier to be executed for desertion by the United States Army. He was executed by a firing squad of 12 soldiers from his division. This is more of Tom's work. Part of Tom's story is that maybe he was somewhere in North England or Scotland somewhere, and as a child he was out walking along near the coast, and I guess a German Messerschmitt came by and started strafing the coast. Valentino Dixon. Colored pencil. Marcel Storr. Oh, this is a wonderful piece. Graphite and colored ink on canson paper. So Marcel lived from 1911 to 1976. It's more Marcel. Now, I would actually consider this kind of visionary architecture. Okay, I like the way that the perspective is distorted, but also maybe what is more interesting is the palette. It kind of makes me think of Angkor Wat. I would say that that's probably about 28 by 18, something like that. We've got a triptych of Susan Tay Karenga King. So they were talking about, Jerry was talking about Chris Byrne as being one of the movers and shaker. I think the first time I saw work by Susan was Chris was showing her here, I think debuting her probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And I actually had a chance to meet Susan. And that was fantastic. This is Untitled by Susan. Circa 1963 to 64. Susan's got a wonderful color sense. Judith Scott, very well recognized outsider, and yeah, this would be an example of a lot of her typical work. She would go out and find things and then wrap them in yarn and string, twine. Okay, so this is Korean art brut. Jung Ao Jiao, Full Sunshine. Crayon on paper. Jung Ao Ju, a girl. More of Jung Ao. It's wonderful, and I like the the overworked surfaces, and yeah, some of this looks like actually builds up the layers of pigment so thickly that it cracks off. Maybe these are all glued on to a heavier backing. This is actually a very nice piece. We'll get up and see if we can capture some of the surface patina. Okay, for those of you that can read Korean, you can put a little translation of that text in a post. This actually makes me think of an Arbi Katai, or maybe even some recent Peter Doigs. Gallery Ave Pidriel, is that how it's pronounced? Pidriel, okay. From Paris. Ali Mamouna? Mimoun? Okay. From Morocco. Okay. This looks like enamel on wood. It's by Vyakul, which means the excited one. And gosh, in certain ways, something like that is as spare as a Bill Traylor. And it's kind of the Tantric paintings. Jean Daniel Alanche. It's kind of like Melvin Way notations in a little book. And some whiteout. Also, we've got, I don't know what the medium is, but we've got a lot of glitter and resin varnish. We've got a beautiful line of more tantric paintings. Calling them Tantra. Paben das Bavel. Okay, so we've got Stephen Biascamino, who has obviously looked at some underground comics. But nice, I think these look like pen and ink. I think these are what caught my eye. Azadina Sananen actually made me think of Oscar Jorn a little bit. Wonderful palette. Got some Howard Finster pieces here. This is the Carl Hammer Gallery, maybe one of the most outstanding outsider galleries in Chicago. This is interesting. So we've got 2 panes of glass with some cutout painted forms in between. This is a Major Howard Finster. Well, I guess he was a Reverend Howard Finster. Okay. December 20th, 1983. 3,215 works of art. Daniel Boone stand-in. The picture scene of his early days. Up above is the image of his new world. And I would say that this is probably about 48 inches square on plywood. More Carl Hammer. Henry Darger. Okay, this is one of the reasons I like the Outsiders. I love the names. Stick Dog Bob. These are a couple of Stick Dog's canes, and it looks like these are made out of golf clubs, and the handles look like they're some kind of cast something. Frank Jones. Again, Eugene von Brochenheim. And this is an example of his unusual painting technique that I was talking about. It's like he would kind of smudge in his pigments and then go back in with various kinds of styluses or some kind of scraping tool. Simon Sparrow. I see a lot of people these days that are very much involved in the glitter school and the kind of shiny found objects, the assemblage. Oh, this is great what he's doing with the color on these beads. But I have to say that I think Simon Sparrow was way ahead of a lot of these people. I've even joked with Chris Martin that he's kind of like Simon's bastard son. It's a beautiful piece. More Darger. Maybe Henry Darger is the most widely recognized of all of the American outsiders. And I guess maybe in a certain way he even kind of set the precedence for Chicago as a center of outsider art collecting. This is Mr. Imagination. Another great name. And we've got a ventricular print here. And yeah, then the frame is all made out of bottle caps. Oh, these little sculptures are paintbrushes. Joseph Yoakum. From my reading, I have come across Yoakum as one of the people that the Harry Hu group were looking at and kind of championing him in the 60s. The Humbaba Gallery. Oh, we came in last year and saw paintings by this artist, Robert Kapoor, 1944 to 2015. Well, I think we looked at this painting last year. Let's see if someone got some more. Thank you. Well, I guess the backstory is that Robert was kind of a cantankerous guy and didn't have a lot of friends. Gee, I don't know any artists that are like that. And I think maybe he was a bus driver or something, but he lived in Chelsea and spent his off hours making these paintings. And I think interestingly, this one is not quite so heavily painted, and they don't have a date on the painting, but I just went to the Dana Schutz show last week, and people were raving about her use of heavy paint to make large expressionistic figurative paintings. And as I've said, I'm a fan of heavy painting. Gosh, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking maybe these are, remounted. But it's actually interesting. So he passed away about 3 or 4 years ago, and I don't even know if he was still making paintings like this, but in certain ways this is very, very contemporary in that there's a whole group of people, not just Dana Schutz, but a whole group of young artists, young painters, some of them from California. I'll be debuting a video of an artist that we caught at the Hole. Susanna Larson, maybe? But there's a whole school of young painters that are working with a lot of paint. Anna Weeder-Blank, who's probably having her opening right now as we speak, out at Honey Romka. Dennis Hollingsworth, Vanessa Prager. Anyway, so maybe Robert Kapoor has finally come into his own now. We'll see. American Primitive. Area Anton, New York. Oh, okay, here's another classic. William Hawkins, born July 27th, 1895. Alps. This is price on request, so that tells you something. I guess this looks like it's on board. Okay, we snagged another interviewee at the Good Luck Gallery.
That's right.
In Los Angeles.
That's right.
What part of Los Angeles?
We are in Chinatown.
Chinatown.
Yes.
And what's your name?
Paige Weary.
Paige Weary. Okay. Well,
Do you want to talk about Helen Rae or anybody in particular?
yeah, actually, the Helen Raes were interesting. Tell me a little bit about Helen.
So Helen just turned 80 this last October.
Really?
She has been working out of a program out in Claremont for adults with developmental disabilities for 30 years. And she works for fashion magazines. She looks at fashion magazines and decides which images she wants to work with, and she does a graphite line pencil drawing, and then she colors that in with colored pencils very intensely to get that saturation.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I was wondering about. This is color pencil
It is.
on paper.
It is. And
Seems like she has a very, I hate to say it, but for someone that you said she's 80 something,
she's 80. She just turned 80.
she's got a very kind of, what can I say, like a punk teenage kind of approach to her compositions. This is very snazzy. Also a nice color sense.
Absolutely. She was born deaf and is nonverbal. So she doesn't speak or hear, and this is her language. We gave her her first solo show just 4 years ago at the Good Luck Gallery, and it sold out. And since then she's been in Vogue, she was just on the BBC, she's got a very nice list of collectors, and she's extremely prolific.
Good for her. Okay. Wow. So all I have to do is go deaf and live for another 25 years and I can make the grade. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Jerry and I were chatting about Phyllis Kind, and I said that Phyllis changed my life. Oh, this is the Jennifer Lauren Gallery. This is nice. This makes me think of a Philip Guston. This is Robert Fisher. Well, I popped into New York about 1979, and I believe Phyllis probably opened the gallery here
It's on Amazon for not very
maybe a year or two before then. She'd been in Chicago for probably about 10 or 15 years before then. But Phyllis's gallery, it's a little storefront, and that was where I first started to see on a regular basis some outsider art. I think I saw Henry Darger there for the first time. I saw a lot of the Chicago Harry Who artists there. Gladys Nielsen. Some of the other crew. This is the Stephen S. Powers Gallery. This was an interesting find. Forrest Bess, 1946. And you can go back in the Kalm report. I think I've probably got maybe 2/3 of Forrest Bess's entire oeuvre in a video. This is untitled Three Figures, 1946, oil on canvas. And Andrew Edlin actually came out to my studio a month or two ago, and we were talking about the ideas and the kind of the developments that outsider art has undergone in the last 10 years. Andrew had been down in Washington, D.C. They were doing a major outsider show down there at maybe the National Gallery, one of the big national institutions. Rico Maresca and Martin Ramirez. Anyway, Andrew, of course, he was excited and gratified to hear that the national art institutions were now acknowledging outsider art. On the other hand, though, he also felt that this was going to be kind of challenging and changing the status or the realm where the outsiders had existed for so long. It's more George Widner. It's an ostrich egg. And I was kind of chuckling to myself when Andrew expressed his concerns about what happens when Sir William Hawkins, what happens when the outsiders are sort of taken in by the academy and the institutions. And I thought back to the old Star Trek episode of the Borgs, maybe the ultimate space alien bad guys. And I remember the great line that they had. The Borgs always had the line of, "You will be assimilated." And well, these kinds of art institutions and historical art venues in a lot of ways are like the Borgs in that they seem to assimilate everything over time. Okay, here's Phyllis's booth. There's a picture of her.
My mother was still working when she got sick 10 years ago. So then it was like all of a sudden. I don't think Rachel.
The legendary American art dealer Phyllis Kind, who over a decades-long career played a leading role in the development of international art from the work of Art Brut and outsider artists, died on September 28, 2018. at her home in San Francisco. She was 85. Well, that's not a bad run. We got more Martin Ramirez. And Phyllis was always pretty energetic, it seemed to me. Born Phyllis Barbara Coleman in New York in 1933. Kind, whose father was a dentist and whose mother worked with him, attended the city's Bronx High School of Science. Oh, this is a nice little selection here. And Sava Sekulik. Beautiful piece. Madge Gill. It says Phyllis taught elementary school while her husband pursued doctoral studies in art history. After moving to Chicago in 1967, the Kinds opened a gallery specializing in old master prints. While learning about the art business, Phyllis earned a master's degree in English literature from the University of Chicago. Adolf Wolfe. It's a nice piece. In the 1960s and 70s, it's a formative period for Kind, whose aesthetic outlook, like many of the contemporary artists with whom she associated, came to embrace a range of offbeat cultural expressions and progressive social trends. In the late 1960s, is this a portrait of Phyllis? Made out of like some kind of rib bone, maybe? In the late 1960s, at Chicago's Hyde Park Art Center, she encountered paintings by Jim Nutt, this cat, Gladys Nielsen, Carl Wirsum, and other members of the Harry Who's artist group, whose mixture of fantasy, humor, funky eroticism, along with their unabashedly handcrafted quality, offered an antidote to the cool, detached air of East Coast art. This is another person that I think she championed, Roger Brown. All the Harry Who people were also inspired by a lot of outsider art, like the Reverend Howard Finster. It says here that Kind became the first art dealer in America to show the work of outsider artists, and the term was still new, side by side with those of schooled contemporary artists. Anyway, yeah, I remember going down and, well, after she moved out of the storefront, she had another gallery up on the second floor, and you had to get into a tiny little rattly elevator and go up to the gallery. And I think I saw my first Mark Greenwald painting there. It was one tiny painting in an empty gallery. I think Mark had worked on it for about 4 years, and it was a painting of him stabbing his wife. Or at least somebody stabbing somebody. Joshua Lawfell's Works of Art, New York. I like the articulated joints. Okay, now we're going to stop in at Shrine and see a collection of work from the Friern Hospital Collection, 1930 to 1960. was talking to Scott last week, and he was saying that I guess somebody approached him, maybe a doctor from this British hospital, and who knew that he had an interest in outsider art brut, and said that I guess there was this collection from a hospital that was coming up at auction, and Scott was able to buy most of the collection, and I think he's presenting this work for the first time here at the 2019 Outsider Show. Donald Henshed. I think these are all mostly works on paper. Oh, this is wonderful. We've got Jonah and the Whale. So they're not giving you the artist's name, we're just calling these from the collection of the Friern Hospital. Although you can kind of read the signature there. Shane somebody. Actually, I like this piece just from a painterly aspect. I like the layering, the buildup of the tempera, and kind of the sgraffito with the crayons over the top. Nice palette. And I guess they're getting ready to close things down. This is the final day I came back. Gosh, we got some pieces here by Lonnie Holly, but I think we're gonna wrap this up here for this evening. Oh gosh, you can go back about a year, 2 years maybe, and see a little interview that I did with Lonnie. Great guy, very energetic. This is the Lindsay Gallery from Columbus, Ohio, and they've got some great beaded pieces by Nancy Josephson. We're going to wrap it up here at the Metropolitan Pavilion for the 2019 Outsider Art Fair. You can like this, subscribe, recommend it to your friends, and you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, and suggestions below, but only if you say, "Thank you, Kate." Thank you. That was beautiful. Really beautiful. Thank you.